If someone asked you to define worship in one sentence, what would you say, and how is that different from what most Christians think worship is?
Okay. So worship, after diving in scripture, I would say worship is not a performance, but it's a projection of our love, surrenderance, and obedience to Christ. And a scripture to back that up is in Romans 12:1. Offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. So that's saying that worship is a living sacrifice, right? So before I even said that, you guys, what would you guys say worship was?
Well, it's funny. I'll start off. I would literally flip to Romans 12:1 because
Really?
I was going to say the same thing,
No way.
and then you said it.
Dude, that's fun.
But yeah, I think my mind has been skewed to, or my thoughts have been skewed to this just because of like modern Christianity. But sometimes I catch myself thinking worship is just like the music, because it's been put into like a genre or a category.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas it's everything. Like you were just talking about with Romans 12:1. So
Yeah.
that's my short opinion on it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I do think, yeah, the worship music is a part of worship. But if you had to cut one thing out, whether it's obedience to God or worship music, God would much rather you cut out the music. Like the words, they mean something, and words are good, words are important. But if you're not acting it out, then the words are useless. Like you said, you were worshiping, but your heart wasn't in it. And was that even worship? Like, was the music even worship at that point?
Exactly.
In my mind, probably not. So yeah, the whole life, like what you do with your life that's the worship.
Yeah,
That's
for
the
sure.
worship.
Yeah, I mean, like this verse doesn't specify music being worship. Obviously, that's a way to worship. But the main part of this is like it talks about it being a living sacrifice, and like differing from New Testament to Old Testament, worship looks different. You know what I mean? So, like Old Testament, a living sacrifice was like a burnt offering. You know, and it's a heavy subject. Like the word sacrifice is more than just give up Netflix, you know? It's like, it was messy. And like an example of that is in Genesis 22, where Abraham goes to sacrifice his son. That's a heavy topic. And it's like, the Lord told him to do this, but the fact that Abraham was willing and obedient to do that was worship. You see, I mean, he doesn't end up killing his son on the altar, but I don't know. It's just, that's hard. It says that it was Abraham's only son. Like, that's like a love. Like, I mean, it sounds like John 3:16, right? When he's talking about, his only son, giving it up. It's just like that. Like, that's how much he loved him. And the fact that he was willing to give it up for Christ. Like, that's sacrificial worship. Sacrifice isn't supposed to feel good. That's one thing about worship that I feel like a lot of people misconcept is they're like, worship is supposed to feel good on a Sunday. You know? Mm-hmm. Like you say, how do people think worship is? So like, people sometimes will walk into a worship set on Sunday. They'll be like, oh yeah, worship is, you got the drums, you got the keys, you got all this stuff, right? That's worship, But no, it's not what worship is. Worship is a heart posture. It's your surrenderance to the Lord and your willingness to be there. So yeah.
Yeah, me and Owen talk about this all the time, but the fact that like so many people they just try and receive out of Christianity, and the true worship is sacrifice.
Yeah.
And people don't want that. They think they kind of have a skewed view on sacrifice too, where they think, oh, if I give this up for God, he's actually going to give me more of it. Like you see this in relationships a lot of the times. Let's see. I'll use careers as an example, but a lot of times people will be in this career and it'll start looking like something's going wrong. Like maybe you're gonna fall out of this career, and you say like, "Oh God, I'm gonna give this up to you." But in the back of your mind, you're saying, "I'm gonna give this up to you, God, and I expect you to give it back to me because I'm willing to give it up for you." You know what I mean? So I think that is what people view sacrifice as. But sometimes it's literally no, God does want you to actually give that up. Like with Abraham and Isaac, that was an extreme example.
Yeah.
And I don't think Abraham was going up in faith that God was going to deliver a ram in place of his son. I think Abraham was genuinely willing to sacrifice his son, genuinely
100%.
willing to give it up.
Yeah.
And that's the true worship.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about this a little bit, but do you think that it's possible for someone to sing every lyric on Sunday and still not worship?
I mean, 100%. I mean, like I said in my testimony, like even leading worship, that Word of Life, I was not really worshiping the Lord, you know? And I feel like we can all be a testimony to that. We've all walked in on a Sunday, and we sit down and we're just kind of going through the motions, just saying the words, but like we're not really truly understanding the weight of those words. And I feel like a lot of people in modern church, they just, oh, that's just what you do. You just sing the words and then that's good. But like you really have to like stand back and observe, and, like discern, ask the Lord to discern your heart in that moment and be like, what am I saying? Like most people don't understand the weight of what they're singing because most of it's scripture, most of it's, you know, their praises like in Psalms and stuff, you know. But no, it's definitely easy to sing every lyric without having a heart posture, praising the Lord, right? You know. But,
Do you think people have the opposite problem where they think too highly of the music?
So they're idolizing the music side of it.
Yeah.
There is a difference between worship music and Christian music. So worship music, like that's like exalting praise to Jesus. That's like only upward lifting. And I feel like a lot of us get confused with Christian and worship music because Christian is like, okay, Christian music has different themes of the gospel of this, but it's more like I-centered. You know, like an example, and I'm not throwing them under the bus, but more like Jesus. I've been told to live my own truth, do whatever makes me feel good, get rid of boundaries, which is good. But in my head, that's more of a congregational prayer. And that's sort of what worship is. That's how I would also describe worship. Is it being a time where all of us as a congregation like sing that same thing and like worship the Lord and lift it as a prayer together. So that's how I would label Christian music as versus worship. Like worship is more up. Like Christian music has like the themes.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love that you said that. Like the vertical, like vertical worship. That's how I like describe it. Just like only upward. Yeah. That's something I feel like I think about too much sometimes when I hear a song. I get like more like, oh, I wish this was more of a vertical worship song rather than still just like, you know, singing and like being with the Lord in that moment. But there was like some Good Friday services, especially. There's some songs that are like not vertical, and I'm like, I feel like on Good Friday every single song should like, I feel like they shouldn't even say I in it because it's not about us at all.
Yeah.
So that's like the thing I commonly find myself thinking about during worship at Good Friday services specifically is like, I don't want to sing one that's just like a Christian song, like you said. I want to sing worship. Yeah. That's like, you know, vertical. But I also liked how you said, what was it? Lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, like people's favorite song. Like when they sing, when their favorite song comes on, and then they're like, "Oh, I'll worship now," like stuff like that. Yeah. There's so many times at church, especially, where one song will turn on, or they'll start performing one song, and then everyone will start singing it. Yeah. And then the one after it or before it, maybe like half the congregation is singing it. I'm just like, I don't know. It shouldn't be about the song because it's not.
Exactly.
And it kind of goes to when people are like, "Oh, I didn't like the worship today." Okay, like it's not about you.
Exactly.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day, and yeah, I don't know. I just like that you said that because that's something I think about a lot. So it was good to hear you bring that up too.
Yeah. Yeah, like people like don't even try. Like they'll hear a song like they're not familiar with, but they don't even try to listen to the words. Like, oh, okay, let's just sit through this one. You know, because worship isn't about how we feel. It's about what gives him praise. But yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, I see the same thing too. Because we go to Radiant, and then obviously we go to the Creek. We've gone to the Exchange, you know, all these things, and the worship is so different in all places, and I think that's the beauty of it. Like, I mean, a lot of people make the argument like they don't like the production side of, like they don't like high production worship. I think that's fine, but if you only like that and you don't see like the beauty of the stripped down, more raw, like the Creek style, I love that, and I love it all. And I think, I mean, it's not about me, but the fact that if we are not able to quote unquote worship when we're singing at a high production church versus a more stripped down type of music, then we're missing something. Again, it's not about us.
Exactly. A lot of people, like what you said about production side of it, a lot of people will like, oh, I prefer like the big production. I prefer the lights. I prefer the big drums. I prefer that. That's how I worship better. Okay. All right. They would like, but most people like on the more stripped down side would be like, dude, that's a performance. That's ungodly, but that's not true at all. Both can be performative. Very much so. So I was just at camp this past week with Creekside students, and they had the big worship, you know, they had the lights, they had everything. But then like a Tuesday night, it was just me, my guitar, and then all of the students around. And man, like when we were singing, they were just roaring. They were just lifting up praise. It doesn't matter what setting you're in. It's like, and I reiterated to them, I was like, there's no lights behind me. There's no drums. There's nothing. But like, that's not what it's about. Like our worship is our obedience right now. And it's our prayer together. So like, we just worship the Lord with that. Like you couldn't even hear me, like, cause that's not my role. But man, like it was incredible to see that. Just, yeah.
To the production side of it, like when I went to the Creek, my first time was we went last week, I think.
That was your first time going?
Yeah.
Last week?
Yeah, because I've always wanted to go, and then the summer was every other week, and then the first week I wanted to go, I couldn't because I was somewhere or something.
Oh yeah,
and then I just hadn't had the opportunity or didn't know about it a while ago.
Oh, boy.
last week was only my second time. I went
Really?
forever ago, and then we just been busy, really busy. And we were both in New Hampshire for.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in there for a week, but I was there for almost 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, because the first time I met you and Jake was here at Crest. That day you guys came in.
I actually met you at
Oh, no, yeah. I met you at 12 Co. But
who at that? No, it was at the. You had a pickleball court.
yeah, the market,
Yeah.
12 Co market.
Yeah,
the
that's
brand.
what that is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I met you there, but then I met Jake here, and then you were with him, and then we kind of like talked more. But that's whole sidetrack. But
Sorry.
at the Creek, I loved it. It reminded me a lot more of like Illinois and my churches back there, because it was just less production. And I like that you said that both can be bad, but neither of them are wrong.
Yeah.
When we're at Radiant, have you been to Radiant?
I actually never. I haven't
Okay.
been to another church besides like Calvary,
Okay.
like in Clearwater.
I
Yeah.
think Calvary is it's like Radiant in terms of worship.
Might be a little different.
I could be
Calvary's
wrong, but
Baptist.
oh,
so
okay. Then there's another Calvary that I'm thinking of then that I've heard of. That's someone compared it to Radiant, but
Maybe the size.
the worship at Radiant, lights everywhere. They have like a couple screens, jumbotrons, ton of cameras, stuff like so high production. And that's something for me personally. I found myself a while ago, like enjoying the, production aspect of it more than like actually worshiping. And it took me a while to get to that point to even like understand that I was enjoying that more. But I bring this up all the time. It was some pastor. He said, if you only feel the presence of God during, a worship song, then you have a relationship with music, not Christ. Yeah. And so I heard that, and I like really sat on that for a while thinking, do I actually spend that time worshiping with the Lord and worshiping the Lord? Or am I standing, enjoying the production, the lights, everything that is like there to like make me feel like I'm feeling something? So I sat on that for a while. And then after that, ever since then, I close my eyes when I'm worshiping at Radiant, just because I feel like then I'm not focused on all these cameras coming around, not focusing on the lights that are like shining, like moving across, in the audience, stuff like that. And that's really helped me. But it was weird because it took me a while to realize that I was like, oh yeah, I actually am enjoying the production of it more than actually just worshiping the Lord. So
100%.
Yeah. I think I had the opposite issue, honestly, where I just, like, my church back home, tiny. They literally rented out of I don't even know what it is. It's like a girls' club. And it's a gymnasium, like a middle school basketball court, basically. They transform it into church every week. And then when I moved down here, Radiant was the second church I went to. And I was like a little judgmental about the production side, like you mentioned. A lot of people are like that. And I think at first it was genuinely because it felt fake. Because, New Hampshire, fun fact, per capita, the least churched, or the least Christian state, like per capita. So there's a lot less people that are Christians there, and the churches that are there, obviously less money, less people, and people are less passionate. And the passion that I felt down here going to Radiant, it literally felt fake when I first went. And then, again, that took me a while to kind of break free from and realize, okay, people are genuinely this passionate about Christ. Like, this is what I've wanted. This is why I moved down here.
Yeah.
But now that I'm experiencing it, I'm kind of judging it. So that took me a while to do. And that's why I do the same thing. I'm always like closing my eyes while I'm singing. I don't know why. It just makes me focus better.
Yeah, it helps you focus better, but like it helps you remember, like, oh, it's your worship to Him.
Yeah.
Not, it's just you and His relationship. And that's also like something that's big, is like your worship alone reflects how you like worship lead, and I think we're skipping questions here, but
no, that's good. We're just flowing. But just going back really quick to what Joey was saying, we had a lot of conversations about that when he first moved here and we started rooming together, because it was, I think, second church in Illinois after we switched over. They had more organized like youth programs. So we moved over when I was in like middle school, and it's called Willow Creek, and it's this famous church in Illinois. It was a famous pastor, Bill Hybels. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he retired a while, like when I was in high school or not retired, whatever. But he stepped down from like head pastor, and then all this stuff happened, and we left the church just because it went very downhill very fast. But the auditorium was 3 levels, and it sat 7,000 people. And
where's the church called?
Willow Creek. It's huge. The one we went to, they have, I think, 3 locations, but
crazy.
Yeah,
I just went to a church in Georgia. That was Woodstock Baptist or something.
No, I never heard of it.
7,000 person
Really?
sanctuary. I wasn't sure if it was like something related.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Yeah. Like Crowder performed at our church when I was in middle school.
Crazy.
But yeah, so it's a huge auditorium. But when that famous pastor was there, like full time, it would fill up like every Sunday, like the levels and everything, and it was so cool. And so I always grew up in that church, and that's what I remember. Okay. Whereas he grew up in, like, I went to his church in New Hampshire, and it's tiny. It's just in a gym. And so I definitely see like where we had these not disagreements, but we had good conversation about it.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. And that was the first time I thought about like worship more in the sense of music and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're used to the big production.
Yeah,
and you're
very
used to
used
this.
to
The opposite, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you guys probably had like one worship, like a guitar and
There's guitar, sometimes a cajon. There's a keyboard.
Cajon. There we go.
I mean, that's about it. Yeah, the worship leader was my pastor's wife. So, and then a lot of times my pastor, the lead pastor, would be on the cajon, and then right after the music, he'd step up and preach, and then go back for the end song.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's tiny, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
so
And then
it's a
like
lot
the
different.
worship leaders at the church that I was just talking about in Illinois, one of them was on The Voice. The other lady, she got golden buzzer on America's Got Talent.
No
like
way.
all these people that were like, they got like some award on like shows or something like that, like American Idol, stuff like that. So it's just funny comparing the two.
Yeah.
Oh, man, no one goes to New Hampshire. No one goes there. It's only people that were born there and stayed. That's it.
I guess, yeah. It's pretty to go to vacation-wise, but.
I mean, I love that place. I love it.
Oh, yeah, I grew up in a Baptist church. So it was like, it's kind of like in between yours and Creekside, I would say, the
Yeah.
production-wise. So
I also grew up in a Baptist church, so I do understand. I mean, it wasn't that big, but it was bigger than Creekside, so it was a little bit. It was close to Creekside.
Oh, it was bigger than Creekside.
Yeah, the Baptist church that I went to. Yeah.
Oh. So I'm the
But-
runt.
But it wasn't like high production. I mean, everyone in the band, I'm pretty sure, was over the age of like 50. So it wasn't a, I don't know, high production. Like no one even knew how to do that
Yeah.
stuff. So
But again, it's not about production, which is cool, you know. But
What's your not opinion, just thoughts on like comparing hymns and modern worship? Because I feel like lately I've been listening to like hymns more, especially on Spotify. Like I have this hymns playlist, and when we were in New Hampshire, us and our other friend, when we would be driving back home for the night, we'd just be blasting hymns on the speakers. And I was like,
1
with the
a.m.
subs,
yeah. One night I was just like, dude, I'm old, bro. Like if I'm listening to hymns just freely, I'm like, I don't know. I felt like I'm like 20 years old listening to hymns, and I'm getting like hype over it. So I don't know. What's your thoughts on hymns versus modern worship?
yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't listen to hymns as much as I should. And like the difference between hymns and contemporary, like what it is now, is modern worship's more me, but like hymns is like deep scripture rooted psalms, like just straight worship, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like people have made modern songs like from the old hymns. Like, I don't know,
yeah.
you know? Have you
Yeah.
seen
Yeah, like
those?
there's a Tiffany Hudson one with she
Yeah.
incorporates a
Yeah.
hymn in it. Yeah.
Which I do love the hymns, and I think I'm going to start using them more because, just because.
Yeah, I'll be
just
there.
like end a set with a nice hymn. Like, I mean, like again, it's just so scripture based worship right there, unless I, which is what I love about it. But I don't listen to it as much as I should, so it's something I'm going to be doing more. Actually,
I can send you my playlist.
you should.
There's this one we keep turning on, and it is a hymn, but I'll show you it really quick, because it's funny. I'll put it into the mic.
Dubstep,
one
it
part
as
of
well.
yeah, legit.
Yo,
Wait.
it's like the Disney soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's like graduation march
Yeah.
sounding. It's like here, I think.
Dude, this is great.
But we were like jamming to this at like 1 a.m. driving home, just in the woods of New Hampshire. It was so funny.
That's hilarious.
But it was awesome. It was getting me hype. And there's no lyrics in this one. It's just
lyrics,
straight
just
orchestra.
instrumental.
Yeah.
Dude, that's funny.
But yeah, it's awesome.
Just put that on a Tuesday night. They're gonna be like, "What?
That would be awesome.
This is worship."
You'd need like 50 people to do it.
Oh yeah, whole choir.
Yeah, mid set you just leave, and then an orchestra comes out, and
There
then
we go.
what's going on?
Oh, that's funny. No, send me that. I'll jam out to it at 1 a.m.
I'll send it. But getting back on track. So do you think calling the music portion of church worship, like using that term worship, how we talked about earlier, how people are like, oh, I love worship, but they mean the music part. Do you think that's unintentionally narrowed our understanding of what worship actually is and what is true and proper worship according to the Bible, which we kind of talked about that. But.
Yeah. So, I mean, worship is biblical. Music worship is. So it's fine to call that portion of like that music part of it worship, and that's okay, because it's what it says in the Word. I mean, it says it in. I mean, it's biblical because it says in Psalm 33:3, sing to him a new song, play skillfully, and shout for joy. And there's like other psalms that talk about cymbals and everything. Some people have narrowed the definition of what worship is on a Sunday because, like what we talked about earlier, we know that worship is not specifically music, but people go on a Sunday and they're like, I couldn't wait to worship, like I waited all week. Some people say that, whatever, I'm guessing that happens, but like they don't understand like the concept of true worship because they're not living it out by themselves. They're not like sitting in solitude and understanding that worship comes from them doing things to the best of their ability, them doing things that please the Lord, so yeah, it does narrow down because like there's a worship night on the 1st, and I believe there's going to be some people that are like, man, like I was really waiting for this just to like be at rest, and like, yes, you get energy, like you feel good after worship, but like, again, it's not to make us feel good. So I feel like they do limit worship to music.
Like I was saying earlier, that's something I used to struggle with, chasing that feeling, more of like feeling good, and the production. What I've found, just like reading scripture and just sitting with the Lord on some stuff related to that, is when I was constantly like, oh, I didn't feel good, so like, was it a good worship session? Something like that. Then that's just like me being prideful because I was constantly, okay, well, was it good worship or when I would ask myself, was it a good worship session? I would be asking because like maybe I didn't feel something, but even just those thoughts are very prideful because it's just, okay, how did it make me feel? Was it good? Like, did I do enough? It's always I. Instead of just, if you don't feel something, you're still worshiping. Like literally if you walk in the room, you stand there and you just eyes closed, you sing the song, or you just like stand there and listen to the lyrics and you're just like, vertical worship with your heart still. It's still worship. Like, but then if you get caught in, was that good? Then it's like, okay, you're making it about yourself now. And then that just like ruins the whole point again. That's what I've found. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. I just think when we think about it too much, it's our pride. But
yeah, for sure. And I think about like camp. Like, have you like heard like altar calls? Like, raise your hand if you want to, like give your life to Christ. But there's kids that have been going to camp for years. They're instantly me. You know what I mean? But they gave their life to Christ last, like what's the difference there? Like they're doing it based off emotion and how they feel. They're not fully grasping the weight of like just sitting and like understanding. Just like that side of worship. Yeah. Like even if you don't feel it, it's just your obedience showing up. I guess that doesn't really tie in to that, but
no, it does. I get what you're saying.
No, I agree.
We were talking about that camp thing yesterday.
Really?
Like how you get a spiritual high from camp and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we were just comparing because he mentioned something how you said church camp or something when you were younger. It's like the best time, or you missed those because they were so fun.
It was so fun. I went probably from 6th grade to senior year of high school. So yeah, I went to like 3 different camps. My church would like just change and go to a different one every couple of years. And yeah, I would get the spiritual high. And I remember like it wasn't even just me; it was everyone at my church, spiritual high. And then you go back home. And I was a good kid, like, when I was younger. But, yeah, once I went to high school, like, I'd be going to church camp, like, bringing alcohol. And it's like, this is not... And I would still get on fire during camp, and then I'd go home, and I'd just go right back to normal life, you know?
That was my exact reaction yesterday.
That's so funny,
and
dude.
it wasn't even judgmental.
I wasn't alone.
I wasn't even judging him. I was just like,
wasn't
that's so
just
funny.
me. It wasn't just me. Mom and Dad, I hope you're not watching this.
Dude.
Yeah, but we were
Yeah,
talking about that.
But I did genuinely, like, I remember the first year of camp, I can remember so many details about it. And maybe the first couple of years are, like, blending in together. But, I mean, how old was I? I was 6th grade. You're, like, 12 years old. That was my first week away from my parents, so I enjoyed it, like, so much. And, yeah, I was just, like, on fire for Christ for maybe about 2 weeks. And then
That's how it is.
it just goes back to normal. And I had already given my life to Christ when I was much younger than that. So it wasn't about that. It was, I want to live for Christ now. I want to live for Christ now. And then you go back, fall into routines, and just go back to normal life. And you're around people that aren't on fire, and you just let it dwindle.
Yeah,
But,
sure.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, any real life change. I try and think about that because, I mean, I've spent probably 6 weeks at different camps over whatever, those 6 years. And I wonder if there was, like, anything that changed me because of it. I don't think so. But it's only because I didn't let myself. But I definitely loved the worship at the worship music at those because that was, like, higher production. I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of camps where they do have worship like that. When you're a kid, like, it makes you feel something, you know? Like, the emotion behind some of this stuff. It's like, it's scary because some big bands will, like, manipulate you with that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even, like, the E minor chord, like, or, no, it's like E flat, like, that key, like, you play in music, it's like, scientifically, there's a emotional reaction that's caused when you play in that key. And it's crazy because, like, some people abuse that and like try to make you just feel something rather than just leading us into a time of like this is who Christ is. Like, let's just exalt his name. You know what I mean? So
Do you think that the bands who do that have good intentions and they're just making a mistake, or do you think that they're genuinely trying to pursue or manipulate people's emotions?
I believe that there's good intention behind it. Okay. Because there's that I know of. I mean, you know, like, we don't know half of what the government says. So. No, but I believe there's good intention behind it. Okay, let's like reel them in, you know, with this, so then we can preach the gospel for them to understand.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that people use worship leader and they kind of idolize it and maybe think that the worship leader is the one that's kind of creating the worship? And then what do you think, like, the true role of a worship leader is? Okay, so the true worship leader goal is to magnify Christ. It's to be a projector. When I said that's at the beginning, what, like, true worship is, it is not a performance, but it's a projection. So my role, or like the worship leader's role, is to magnify Christ. It is not about me, myself. He must increase, but I must decrease. So it's really just like thinking about it like a projector screen. You know, like, we have the congregation, and then, like, they're facing me, but, like, I'm really turned around and I'm putting on the projector, like, who Christ is, you know? So the worship leader role, like, and I like to think of it like I'm not the only worship leader. Like, everyone in the room is a worship leader, you know? Like, there's different roles that people have. Like, people are, like, in there, they serve as a plumber, you know? But that's worship. If he does it to the best of his ability and he's, you know, proclaiming the gospel while doing it, you know what I mean? Like, people have different platforms. So the worship leader's job is more of like, okay, I'm going to conduct a choir of all these worship leaders, all these worshipers, and we're going to just magnify
to Christ. Like, I'm not, the worship leader is not more holy than the congregation. You know what I mean? There's a lot of misconception there, you know? Because, I mean, they just, you know, assume that, oh, he has that all figured out, whatever this is. That's not true at all. You know, we're all sinners in the room. Like, we're all finite beings trying to serve an eternal God, you know? So I like to think of it as we're all leaders in the room together, worshiping the Lord through that.
Do you ever get the sense that people idolize? I mean, you specifically, but also other worship leaders. You could even think like Christian artists like Tiffany Hudson, like Abby Gamboa. I could see a lot of. I'm not gonna call it idolization, but it could be.
No.
Do you think that you
like
get any of
like
that?
there was there was this one time I was on a Tuesday night, so I'm walking around. I just go talk to people afterwards. It's like I just like hanging out with people. Like, I don't think of anything of it. I sit at like in a random circle, and I sit down. I'm like, "Yo, how you guys doing?" And then like the two guys next to me are like, "Oh my gosh, it's the worship leader, celebrity." I'm like, "Are we serious right now? Like, you cornball." Like, I'm just a dude. Like, I'm one of you guys. Like, I'm like, there's nothing special about it. So there is a little bit of like a like a separation between. That's why I try to like really be intentional with like just hanging out with people afterwards. But like when it comes to like big artists like Phil Wickham and like, you know, Tiffany Hudson, like there is some idolization, you know, like, oh, it's a Tiffany Hudson song. Like, I'm going to worship my hardest to this one. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It
almost seems like you're saying that that there's the opposite where people aren't. It's not that they're idolizing you. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened in that situation, but it almost sounds like they were being almost sarcastic about, oh, a celebrity. Like maybe they think that you think you're a celebrity.
I actually couldn't tell if they were being sarcastic or not. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, I don't know if I was reading it wrong or not.
Yeah, I could see that happening. People having sort of distaste for you because they might think that you think you are better than others. Yeah, you know, being a worship leader. And
that's why I do be intentional with going out and talking to people.
Yeah,
because there is no separation between us and them.
That's what I absolutely loved about the Creek is just you go out and. I mean, I was leaving. Actually, I went to church there on Sunday too.
Really?
And as I'm leaving, Aaron is out there, and he like just stops me and talks to me for 30 seconds, and it's cool. It's like, and that's what I'm used to back home. So I guess I value that probably a lot more than other people do. But yeah, it's just nice. It's nice.
Yeah,
it's good. He's bringing himself down to my level. Not that we're on different levels, but just he doesn't want me to think that he's above me. He doesn't want himself to think he's above me, and so it's good to be intentional about that.
Yeah. The thing about it is, like, it's not performative at all. Like, we don't do it because of that reason. We do it because we just want to get to know everybody that walks in the door. You know what I mean? I feel like that's what we should all do, you know, but it's like, that's just the goal of Creekside in general. Plug Creekside Church.
There you go for it.
Do you think there's, like, any part of that that's healthy in a way of like when you sat down there, like, oh, it's the like worship leader. Like, do you think any part of that could be healthy in not idolization, but do you think there's a part of that that's healthy in terms of they look up to you or like, because that's a natural feeling. Like if I saw, no matter the size of the church or something, if I saw the worship leader or the pastor, I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's like the pastor. I want to go talk to him.
Yeah.
Like even at his church, it was super small, but when we went up and talked to him, I was still just like, oh, this is like super cool. I get to talk to the pastor. Do you think any part of that's healthy because we're like looking up to you in a way, not looking up to you, you know, as Christ or idolizing you, but in a way of like a mentor? Or
what do you mean by like healthy?
Like in a way where you want to ask questions, where you want to get insight, opinion. Not, obviously, if you think that this person has an answer to everything, then that's not good. Because they're just, like you said, we're just all the same. But some people spiritually have more like biblical knowledge, things like that. People higher up in the church tend to just have that because that's not required, but, you know, at the same time kind of is. So looking at those people as a mentor to learn more, to grow closer to Christ, not falling on their faith, but just, you know, learning stuff. Is there a healthy way to that, or is it all unhealthy if we're like, oh my gosh, it's this worship leader?
Yeah. I mean, there's part of me that constantly searches like how to become a better leader, you know, on stage, so like I can be that mentor and stuff. But it can lead to unhealthiness, like really quick. It can lead to, and I'm not convicted of this because there's a time where I'm like, how can I become the best leader, the best spiritual leader Talan can possibly be? Whereas I wasn't thinking of the times like, oh, what's the best way I can serve? You know? There's a unhealthy balance there when I'm trying to think of all the things I can do rather than it's not what I do, but it's Christ who lives in me, you know, and breathes through me. So
I'll say, because you kind of said it when you were talking about like how good can Talan be as a leader. When we just led a sermon recap last semester at Radiant, and I didn't want to be a leader. Like, I genuinely did not. I prayed on it for a long time because I was like ignoring, if you know. And once I decided to lead, then I was like, okay, well, what? Like, I was going into it in the correct way at first, and I was like, okay, like, Lord, what do you want me to do? Like, how can I like steward the knowledge you've given me to this group? And then after like the first 2 groups, then I started to think, like, I tried to intentionally sit there and like be quiet, and everything I said, I tried to make it come out super wise, so everyone was like, oh, that's really good. I was trying to get that, and then super quick I was convicted on it. He said something, not like to me, he was talking about something, but then also I think it's in Proverbs, it says like it's easy for a fool to look wise when he's silent. And so I was like, oh, dang. So I was convicted super quick. And then through that, and just, you know, sitting on the Lord with it, I felt like I was still supposed to like be more of a quiet leader and just be there to listen, but less out of when I talk, it like I want it to be wise, and more out of the Lord wanted me to be quiet just to simply be there and listen and like be there for people to talk to. And, you know, just sit there. I don't always have to have a response. But as I started to do that, just sit there because I felt like that's what the Lord wanted me to do, then I felt like the things that I started to say, people were like, oh, that's really helpful, when I wasn't like intending to do that. And then it started happening more. And not everything was, oh, that's so good. Some of it was just like, yeah. But I started to like not have a problem with it because I was like, I started to only talk when I felt like I had to say something rather than, oh, I want to say this because it sounds wise. So that was something that I was strongly convicted with. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I would say that is also, well, that's really the only time I can say I was in like a whatever spiritual leader position in any sort of way. And Radiant actually, like when we signed up and they allowed us to do it, they give you resources. In one of the videos that we had to watch, it was explaining the 80-20 rule, and it's 80% of the time the leaders are not talking. That's when you guys are letting them converse, let them figure out things themselves. And the 20% is when you give in to with your knowledge and your maturity or your experiences, your advice. And that was very important with us. It was, all right, what can we do that we can encourage them to learn themselves? Like, we do not have the answers. We are guiding them in this to help them find the answer, but we don't know it. So we help them. And a lot of times what people need to do to fix their problems, to figure out what they need to do, is talk through it. Yeah. And they don't need someone to talk to them. That's what the best therapists will tell you, or best psychologists or whatever. To help someone solve their problem, usually the best thing to do is be quiet.
Just listen. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was an interesting thing for us because I I mean, both of us, I mean, we have a podcast. Like, we like to talk. We like to talk. We argue about a lot of things. We have arguments, but they're not malicious arguments. They're just conversations about a lot of things. And obviously we go into it and we're like, okay, well, every time someone says something, I have an answer. I know I do. But like, how can I hold back and let them kind of figure it out on their own? Because people don't learn if you just give them all the answers. And a lot of the time I'm wrong anyway, so.
Yeah, I don't have answers most of the time, for me at least. I'm
Yeah.
like, people will say something, I'm like, I hope they don't ask me like how to help them, because I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, it takes a lot of process, I feel like, for me, like, just sitting there. I also used to think I was like a quiet leader, like just sitting back and just not saying anything is like the best thing I could do, you know? But like, I mean, it's our responsibility to be fully immersed in this and understand it and learn it. And like, that's one of the things, just being a leader in general. Like, I like to tell people, before you're a leader on stage, you're a leader off stage. Like, if you're not fully immersed in the word, if you're not like in prayer, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, like, you're not going to lead properly on stage. You're going to speak out of your gut, you know? You're going to, you know, there's not going to be anything that, you know, the Lord guides you through if you're not going to be willing to surrender, you know, your time to growing to be more like him. So.
Yeah. You kind of touched on it, but what's something you've learned off stage that helps you lead on stage?
Something I learned off stage is those two as well, was be getting grasped and understanding the word and what it says, and then again, praying. Like, those two are very, very important things, because I was talking to this guy. I was like trying to learn how to become a better worship leader, right? And we were on this missions trip in Alabama, and this guy was like worshiping there, and he was like really good with the way he spoke and everything. And I was like, dude, I got to talk to him. So I walk up to him and I'm like, hey, like, do you have any advice? Like, I'm just a new worship leader. I'm trying to figure it all out, you know? Like, do you have any advice? And he's like, it's your relationship with the Lord that reflects how you lead on stage. And I was like, dang. So one thing I learned off stage about worship is that me and him have to have an intimacy. Me and the Lord I have to give my true worship to him in silence and solitude without nobody watching, for that to be a reflection on stage. So, and then just in general, just leading and being of service off stage helps me be a better worship leader on stage. Because like, the Lord sees what you do when no one's watching, right? Like, even just setting up those tables before we eat on a Tuesday night, we like hang out on a Sunday, you know, like, that's worship. That's a service to the Lord, you know what I mean?
We just heard a sermon. Honestly, I don't even remember where it was, but it was about, I forget the passage, but storing up your treasures in heaven. And actually it was Matthew 7, Matthew 6, Matthew 7, one of those, about,
6.
Yeah, about the hypocrites, how they are performers and they get the reward when they are seen worshiping and praying in the streets. They get the reward, which means that they don't get their reward in heaven for doing those good deeds. And whoever was preaching told a story about Billy Graham, and Billy Graham was saying how he's kind of jealous of the nun who's been quiet and like still serving the Lord in working at homeless shelters and doing all this stuff behind the scenes that she's never gotten glory from humans from. And he's like, just being who I am, I'm Billy Graham, like, everyone knows me, everyone listens to what I do, I get idolized so much that he doesn't think he's getting, I mean, I don't remember it exactly, but he's saying when I go up in heaven and I'm sitting in line, I'm going to be up towards the front of the line, and God's going to say, like, he's going to point to the back and point at the guy who's been serving quietly behind the scenes for 50 years, and he's going to say, you come, you are first. And Billy Graham is going to be the last one as everyone comes before him, because he didn't store up his treasures in heaven. Not that his heart was not in the right place, but he got a lot of human glory so that he gets a lot less reward in heaven. And I wonder if you see that at all, if you feel that way at all as being a worship leader, where a lot of people will look up to you and you in some ways do get your reward by people seeing you worship. Do you feel that way at all?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like that's something I've thought about, like because I'm seen, like I lacked like service outside of being on stage. Like that's what I was convicted of like earlier. I was saying, I was so focused on how can Talan be a better leader than how can I serve better. And I was lacking with that serving, like just behind the scenes.
What dangers do you think arise when Christians think worship only happens during the singing? And how can worship leaders make sure people leave talking more about Jesus than the songs they sing?
Yeah, so there's definitely dangers when Christians think worship only happens singing on a Sunday, because if you only sing on Sunday, you're going to starve, It's just like reading the word. You go to church on Sunday, you go to church only on Wednesday, you're going to starve. It's just like like I used to wrestle. I used to starve myself to make weight, And, I was dead man stomping. I was dying because I was not getting any nutrients. I was not getting anything. So if your worship and your relationship with the Lord is only on Sunday, you're going to starve. So there's definitely danger when, one, they think it's only music on Sunday, that's worship, and then two, they only worship on Sunday. It makes you wonder, are they even worshiping the Lord, Do
you think worship leaders take on sometimes too much pressure, like in their own mind, thinking that they have to control, or not control, like that they have to help people think more about Jesus than the lyrics? Like, do you think that's, because at the end of the day, the Lord will do what he wants in their heart, and that's for them to, learn and walk through, because they came through the doors, they're there, they made that choice to come in. So do you think that's sometimes worship leaders take too much thought into that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, like, how people share the gospel? It's not your job to save them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? When you're sharing the gospel, a lot of people get hooked. Oh, like, I didn't share the gospel good enough, so I can't. It's not your responsibility to save them. It's yours to plant the seed and do that. So it's really easy for us to be like, why aren't you worshiping? Like, let's worship together. And you hit on the topic. You were like, when you're worshiping the Lord, or like you're leading worship, like, do you like overthink, like what am I supposed to say to do this? Yeah, I mean, there's times where, I mean, I'm also new to the craft, so I'm continuing to learn day by day. You know what I mean? But there's times where I'm like, all right, what can I say that'll help them, like just feel something more, which is not good, but like you just have to surrender to the Lord and like understand that the Lord's going to say what he wants through you. He's going to do what he wants. Even on this podcast, what's said is what the Lord wants, hopefully, well, if we allow, what I mean?
Hope so.
But that's why we pray before. But
Have you ever had a time where you were leading worship and you kind of sense that people are not engaged at all? How does that feel for you? If you've been in that situation?
Yeah, or where it seems where they're, more about the feeling and like they're more emotionally connected. Like, is there?
Yeah, so for that first one, there's two sides of it. There's one where they're like not worshiping at all. They're just like looking off in the distance. It's discouraging, but it's like because you're like, oh dang, I didn't make the set good enough. You know what I mean? But like it's a lack of them understanding that they're supposed to just sit in silence and like lift their hands to the Lord. And it's like the feeling side of it, like I'll create a whole set list of just bangers. Like, what a God, this. And they're feeling it, But like there's other times where we'll play a new song and they're just like silent. So like at the end of the day, it's their heart posture between them and the Lord. And there's not much we can do about it besides leading them through scripture at the beginning and being like, this is what the Lord says worship is. This is what we're going to do. We're going to spend this time to worship. And if they're not receptive to that, then they got to search their hearts,
Yeah, I was going to ask if you ever like break the fourth wall, kind of put that out there. Like, hey guys, just by the way, this is music. Worship is what we do with our lives. The music is not the music itself is not the worship. It's your heart posture. Do you ever break the fourth wall like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, before each worship night, I've done like two or three. But before
Are you doing this next one?
Yeah.
Nice.
August 4th. So you guys going to be there?
I will be there.
It's what, 4th?
August 1st, right?
1st.
First. Yeah, I should be there.
Yeah. Cool. No, but I'll I'll hit on Romans 12:1 and like I'll explain what a sacrifice and surrenderance is, and like I'll walk them through. Like, I don't know. Like my goal is not to like make them feel something, but I'm gonna like tell them like, this is what worship is, and like let's drop what we're feeling. Like let's drop everything that's preventing us from giving the Lord our true worship.
I like that.
Yeah, but yeah.
You kind of talked about it too earlier with the plumber. But how can someone worship God while working a regular job, raising children, or just sitting in a classroom? Like for the classroom one, let's use college students because I know probably more people that are going to listen to this are probably young adults, like college students.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the plumber, I said earlier, like he served with the students on this trip, but he gave, even though he was busy with work, he took that week to just serve and just be with the students' lives and minister to them. And just like his everyday walk, he said, by the fruit of his relationship with the Lord, he's able to just minister to them through that. And then even just being at college, like those guys in the classroom, the best way they can share the gospel is by their fruits and how they live their life. Like how their relationship with the Lord is at that moment reflects how they live their everyday lives. So their worship is doing everything to the best of their ability, not using ChatGPT on every assignment. And no, I'm just kidding.
Kidding.
Stare at Owen,
man.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm just kidding. God made ChatGPT. I'm just kidding.
That's like a whole rabbit hole, other topic of
I'm
it.
just kidding.
Maybe we'll do an episode on AI.
Maybe next pod AI.
Yeah.
Dude, that's actually a good podcast, AI.
Yeah, that would be a good topic.
No, but just, again, you are the light of the world. That's what the Lord says. So all of us individually are called the light of the world. So we got to be that light to others around us. So just living a godly life that reflects our relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I can say for that.
I like that. I like that. You mentioned it like during your testimony, but the fact that you grew up in church. Were you a believer? You were a believer, but you didn't live like Christ?
But I don't believe I was a believer until...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's like more in that testimony, like before.
Yeah.
I believe I was like a believer. I don't know when exactly I got saved, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But
I am very similar. Because I say, the way that I like to frame it is that I believed in God, but I did not love God. And it's,
Okay.
and like, so he was God. I believed he was real, but he wasn't my Lord. And it sounds like you had a similar ish story.
Yeah, very.
And yeah, was I a minister to anyone during that period? No, not at all. Because it doesn't even matter what I said to them because I didn't live like it. Exactly. My words had and not that I did really share the gospel, but if I had to my friends that I was going out and drinking with, like, am I really ministering anything? If anything, I'm doing the opposite. I'm showing them, Christians are people that don't truly live by what they say.
Yeah.
So it is more about your actions.
Yeah.
What's one misconception about worship that you think, or that you wish every Christian could unlearn? And what truth would you replace that with?
I mean, yeah, just really going back to the music versus just the daily action. Like, we're called to die to our flesh every single day, pick up the cross, and live godly lifestyles and worship the Lord. So that's one misconception, is that you can only worship on a Sunday or on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And most people just don't know how to, like they know to, but it's like they don't really know how to sit in silence and just let the Lord move with such busy lifestyles and everything.
When you talk about Romans 12:1, about sacrifice is the true and proper worship, what do you see specifically as like sacrifice? What are you sacrificing?
Sacrifice. So again, we look back at like the sacrifices, the burnt offerings, like that was a bloody sacrifice. It was hard to sacrifice things. And like sacrificing could look like different things in your life. Like sometimes I need to sacrifice my pride, my timing. You know what I mean? Like before we worship, like there's different things each and every one of us have in the room, in the congregation. Like what's that thing you're going to give up to the Lord right there? What's that thing you're going to put up to the altar and be like, Lord, take this from me. I can't do this by myself. So I don't know. What's some areas in your guys' life where you're like I need to sacrifice this while I worship?
First one that came to my mind is my desires.
Yeah,
like I said earlier about the career, the career path hasn't been the specific one for me, but the fact that like a lot of the times people will, or actually I'll say it, yeah, for me, like I would get in like these, I said it in the last episode, situationships, whatever you want to call them, and like things would be going downhill, and in my eyes it was like there's no reason for it, and I would just imagine like, God, if I like give this up to you, you're gonna actually let it happen, you're gonna make it work for me. And I don't think any of those relationships would have been a negative thing. I truly don't. They were godly women, and I was trying to be a godly man at the time, and I had good intentions. So I was like, okay, well, in my eyes, there's no real reason for it not to go well. But truly, God, what He was asking me to give up was my desire for that relationship, even if it was a good thing. It's like He had something better on the other end, and I didn't see that at the time. So my desires, I think a big one nowadays for just generally for other people as well, time. Like you keep mentioning the sitting in silence, and I think the big reason people don't do that is because they don't want to sacrifice their time because they are so busy, because it's like always something else to do.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of quick fixes, like doom scrolling and all that stuff that are easily attainable, that you're like, they're just distractions. And that's like where you just got to ask the Lord, like, Lord, just limit distractions, because the enemy's going to use every little thing he can to limit. That's another thing, is spiritual warfare, like during worship. Like you're in a war when you're worshiping the Lord. The devil, that's the last thing he wants you to do right there and then. So he's going to try everything he can to distract you, to limit your heart from trying to understand what the worship's talking about. And it kind of goes back to that question earlier on Sunday, like, can people still truly worship and like sing all the lyrics but not actually worship? Like I think about, it's a verse in Matthew, And it talks about people that hear.
Hearers of the word.
And
that the one
not
you're
do
talking
it. That's
That's in
James.
James.
That's in James, but I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of
that's in
another
James.
verse in Matthew. But it talks about, if I can find it. It was similar to that, James.
Oh.
It was talking about how there will be people, you will indeed hear but never understand. You will indeed see but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull. And with their ears they can barely hear. So they listen to everything. They listen to what the pastor's saying. They listen to what the song's saying. But they're not truly like opening up their hearts. They're just not surrendering their hearts and their minds to want to understand. You know, their desires aren't in the right spot. But
how would we do that? Like if someone's struggling if someone's struggling with I want to understand, how do you get what I'm saying?
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's just right there and then, just understanding that you just got to talk to him. You just got to ask him. It says ask and it will be given to you. So just ask faithfully and just be steadfast in prayer. That's one thing about the whole, like, you have to be rooted in prayer, especially being a worship leader or you're in a worship set. If you're not rooted in prayer, and I think that's what your last podcast was talking about.
Yeah,
prayer
we were talking about prayer, yeah.
It's so important by yourself with other believers and everything. Like, you can build all your knowledge in this. You know, you can learn how to be the best worship leader. You can learn how to do this. But if it's not rooted in the word and your relationship with Christ, then it's not, there's nothing that will flourish. So just those believers that feel like they can't, like, fully surrender, or they don't know how to understand him, they just have to ask. And then just get to know his character. So, I don't know. Plug. Read the Bible.
The Bible.
Good plug.
But
Sidetrack. What's your what translation is that? What's your favorite?
KJ. No, I'm just kidding. ESV.
Okay, yeah, we all have ESV.
I love
You guys,
that.
you have both ESV.
I'm
Yeah,
an
right here.
ESV.
I have ESV. I have an NIV. That was my like kid Bible. I think it's like a kid NIV. But
Have y'all seen the Gen Z Bible?
dude, it's like
Oh, I heard about it.
yeah. I forget
The sinners will be cooked. Like, I have no idea what
No,
happened.
thanks. I'm good. I'll pass on that one.
I wonder
Yeah.
where that's ranked on. You know, like the rankings of how accurate in comparison to like KJV or like the original Hebrew. Have you seen those rankings?
I actually
Whereas
have.
like ESV is like up there, NIV is kind of, but like
Yeah.
when it's comparing most accurate in terms of translation of the words, all that stuff. Like NLT is lower.
I haven't
Not-
seen it.
not-
NIV
not
was higher
bashing
than
NLT.
ESV.
I
think-
don't know.
I
I
have
like
no
ESV. I think it's easy.
It's,
Yeah.
English Standard Version,
Yeah.
Yeah, no. KJV, it's just poems pretty much the whole time, I feel like.
Yeah. I've tried. Like, I think when I was younger, I must have had like a NKJV, which I know is a little bit easier than the KJV, but it's, I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
That
Too
large.
much.
I want to get to that point where I can read it and I can understand it in KJV.
It's like those instrumentals. Like, that's how I
Yeah.
imagine.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm into hymns
literally.
now. Maybe eventually that
Dude,
means I'll be sitting there with my KJV,
That's
There you
funny.
go.
black coffee.
Black coffee. Oh, you're a rebel. Black.
He drinks just straight black coffee.
What a stud.
I do a spoonful of honey in it. It sweetens it up quite a bit, but
There you go.
it's good. It's real good.
But
Not the coconut latte that they serve here.
yeah, wait, which one did you get?
Oh, the coconut one.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's major
Press
sidetrack.
Community Coffee.
Crest Coffee Co. Yeah.
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 Sorry.
Tampa,
Wrong plug.
Florida. Another. What is that? Your third plug? This
Third
podcast?
plug.
Yeah. Alani, the Bible, and Crest Coffee Co.
And the creek.
And the creek.
Oh yeah, fourth. So
Shameless plug.
yeah.
Check it
I
out.
don't know any questions that you want our opinions on. Anything that you've just opened a discussion before we close this up.
Yeah, I don't really have much.
No questions?
Yeah, I think that's all she wrote.
That's fine.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we do like to-go questions on this for like the viewers.
Okay, cool.
So our to-go question for this week is, if God removed music from your life tomorrow, what would your worship look like? So think about that this week after you listen to this, and just, really sit on that. Sit with the Lord, like Talan was talking about. Just sit in stillness, just listen, just see what he has to say, and just think about it. So I can close this out in prayer, and then,
Awesome.
Heavenly Father, thank you for yet again another amazing opportunity to just sit down in this amazing studio that we get to use, and for just being able to sit down with Talan and spend time together, just growing to know each other more and to just have conversations about you. And I just hope that our questions and answers and just discussions reach someone that is listening to this. And I just ask that you help the listeners as well as us to just get comfortable and find peace and joy just sitting with you in the stillness, not always speaking, but just sitting there with you. And I just ask that you help us whenever we are worshiping during the music portion on a Sunday or whatever day it is, that we remember that worship is not just music, that it is the things that we do throughout the week that glorify you, and help us to just walk into more opportunities to worship you, and help us to crave to walk into more opportunities that worship you. I just thank you for giving us the opportunity to just know you and to just build relationship with you. And thank you for your love and your mercy that you have on us. And it is in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you, Talan, for joining us on
you.
this topic of worship. So we hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we will see you guys next Monday for the next one. See ya.
See ya.